Welcome to the Bare Metal Cyber Security Plus podcast. This series helps you prepare for the CompTIA Security Plus exam with focused explanations and practical context. For a companion study guide, check out the Achieve CompTIA Security Plus 701 Exam Success by Dr. Jason Edwards. It is the most concise and complete Security Plus guide on the market, built for busy professionals who want to pass the exam fast and on their first try. You can find this book and others at cyberauthor.me. Security governance does not operate in a vacuum. Every organization must account for external requirements and influences that shape how they build and manage their cybersecurity programs. In this episode, we will explore two essential external forces that impact security governance: regulatory and legal compliance, and industry and geographic considerations. These forces define what an organization is required to do by law and what it should do to remain competitive, ethical, and secure in a complex global environment. Let's begin with regulatory and legal compliance. These are mandatory obligations set by governments and legal systems to protect data, ensure privacy, and enforce accountability. Organizations that fail to comply with these rules face penalties, lawsuits, loss of reputation, and even criminal charges. Regulatory compliance is not optional. It is a baseline requirement for operating legally and ethically in many industries. Two widely known regulatory frameworks are the General Data Protection Regulation and the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. The General Data Protection Regulation, which originated in the European Union, focuses on protecting the personal data and privacy rights of individuals. It applies not only to European companies, but also to any organization around the world that processes data belonging to European citizens. The regulation requires organizations to collect only the data they need, secure it appropriately, and be transparent about how it is used. Individuals have the right to access their data, correct it, and request that it be deleted. Violations of this regulation can result in massive fines. The Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act is a United States law that applies to the healthcare sector. It requires organizations to protect health records and other personal medical information. Key requirements include access control, encryption, audit trails, and breach notification procedures. Covered entities must implement both administrative and technical safeguards to prevent unauthorized access or disclosure. Let's examine a real-world compliance scenario. A global marketing firm collected customer data through online surveys and stored it without appropriate access controls. One of their cloud databases was left exposed to the internet and was later discovered by a security researcher. The data included names, email addresses, and behavioral information from European users. Because the company had not implemented the protections required by the General Data Protection Regulation, they were fined several million euros by European regulators. This incident became a high-profile case study in how poor compliance practices can lead to serious financial and reputational damage. By contrast, organizations that embrace compliance proactively can use it to strengthen their overall security posture. For example, a regional hospital system in the United States used the requirements of the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act as a blueprint to redesign its entire network architecture. They segmented sensitive systems, implemented audit logging, deployed encryption across endpoints, and launched mandatory staff training. As a result, they not only passed their compliance audits, but also reduced actual breach risk across the organization. Compliance, when treated as a minimum standard and not a checkbox, can drive meaningful security improvement. Now let's shift to industry and geographic considerations. Every industry faces its own unique set of security risks, threats, and governance challenges. Similarly, the geographic region where an organization operates, whether local, national, or global, can introduce additional requirements or constraints that must be addressed in the security governance framework. Different industries require different types of protections based on the nature of the data they handle and the threats they face. For example, financial institutions must prioritize fraud detection, secure transaction processing, and the protection of personally identifiable information. They are subject to regulations like the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act in the United States and the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard globally. These requirements dictate how credit card information is stored, transmitted, and secured. The energy sector, by contrast, must focus on the protection of critical infrastructure. This includes systems that control power generation, grid management, and distribution. These organizations often follow frameworks like the North American Electric Reliability Corporation's Critical Infrastructure Protection Standards. These frameworks emphasize physical security, logical access controls, incident reporting, and supply chain risk management. A failure in this sector can lead to blackouts, public safety hazards, and even national security incidents. Now let's consider a geographic example. An international retail company that operates in North America, Europe, and Asia must design its security program to comply with multiple regional laws and cultural expectations. In Canada, data privacy is governed by the Personal Information Protection and Electronic Documents Act. Each law has slightly different definitions of personal data, breach notification timelines, and enforcement mechanisms. A security policy that works in one country might be illegal or insufficient in another. This complexity forces multinational organizations to take a modular approach to governance, establishing core global standards, then layering on regional requirements. A great example of this modular approach comes from a software-as-a-service provider that offers its platform to customers around the world. The company created a global information security policy based on the International Organization for Standardization 271 framework. It then created regional addendums that addressed data localization laws, language preferences, and reporting structures specific to different jurisdictions. This allowed the company to remain compliant while maintaining a consistent and effective global security program. Geographic considerations also include cultural norms and customer expectations. In some regions, users expect very high levels of transparency and control over their data. In others, business customers demand strict contractual guarantees related to data handling, encryption, and service-level agreements. Security governance must account for these expectations to maintain trust and avoid conflicts with clients, partners, or regulators. As you prepare for the Security Plus exam, it is important to recognize that security governance is not just internal. The exam will likely include questions that test your ability to identify external compliance drivers, understand industry-specific risks, and adapt security controls to meet legal requirements. Focus on understanding the purpose of major regulations and how they influence day-to-day operations. Also be able to evaluate a situation and determine whether compliance, industry standard, or local law is the most relevant influence. Here is a useful tip for this exam section. When reading questions about external requirements, pay close attention to the organization's industry and the location of its customers or data. If the question mentions healthcare, think about the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. If it mentions payment processing, consider the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. If the data includes European citizens, think about the General Data Protection Regulation. Matching the right law or framework to the situation is often the key to answering correctly. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Bare Metal Cybersecurity Plus podcast. For more episodes, tools, and study support, visit us at baremetalcyber.com. And before you take the test, make sure to check out the practice questions in the book Achieve CompTIA Security Plus SY0-701 Exam Success by Dr. Jason Edwards. They cover every domain and are a powerful way to lock in your knowledge.